Hello my friends, I want to tell you that there will be no new massive Russian attack during the springtime. Before we get tons of the information from our Western allies and also from Ukrainian officials that Russia is preparing that kind of attack from the north or from the south doesn't matter. Their new attempt should have been to throw around 500,000 soldiers to Ukraine to try to capture big cities and encircle Ukrainian army in Donbass. And we expected that Russia should have started their mobilization early this month, but it didn't happen. It means that they're very late for that big event. You see, with the current resources that Russia has, they're unable to achieve the strategic advantage over Ukraine and just able to take the small portions of the ground on the eastern side using their most equipped sources like Wagner Group. But it just cannot continue forever for Wagner. Finally, they will be exhausted because Ukraine gets more and more resources to its army. So the only way for Putin to try to win this war is to announce one more massive mobilization and throw many more men to this war. 500,000 or maybe even 1 million. But as I say to you, he's not doing that. He put some new air defense systems to Moscow protecting himself, but there is no big decision for this operation, as they call it. The problem for Russia is time. The new mobilized soldiers should have at least 2 or up to 3 months for the training. And if we speak about the last mobilization wave in Russia, not all of the soldiers went to the front lines. They're still in training. Russia announced that they mobilized around 300,000 soldiers, but United States intelligence says that the highest number is 250,000. Less compared to Russian official figures, because they also need to supply those guys, and Russia is very weak in supplies. So to mobilize 500,000 or 1 million, they need to change something in their system, but they are not willing to change it. And that gives Ukraine the window of perspective this spring. You see, half of the winter already has passed, but there is no major advantage from either of the sides. Here the main problem stays with the weather and lack of the military units for Ukrainian army. So we're gonna receive new tanks and new armor recalls very soon, I think in 1 or 2 months. Our personnel already went for the training for Leopard tanks and for Challenger tanks, Bradleys and other vehicles. So we do expect to have the counterattack this spring from Ukrainian side, and we're gonna go to Crimea. I've already done the analysis of the possible counterattack from Ukrainian side. Basically, it's gonna start from Zaporizhia region, taking Melitopol under Ukrainian control and cutting supplies for the Russian group on the south part of Ukraine. And after that, we have the open way to try to get Crimea under control. Plus, we're going to receive the long-range bombs. Those are gliding bombs that have the range up to 150 kilometers, and that will help us to target this part. So the picture is so understandable for me from Ukrainian side that I would say that 90% this variant would work in the springtime. I think that it may happen in April. March is still a wet one. And what would Russia do in that case? Basically defense, nothing more. And they would try to continue the fight, and after they will be defeated on the south part of Ukraine, they may announce the massive mobilization, but it would be very late in that case. So even though Ukraine lost Solidar town and the situation in Bakhmut is very difficult for us, but still I have the good prospect for Ukraine in this war. However, potentially Russia has more resources compared to Ukrainian side, but stupid Russian management doesn't use it. But Ukraine gets more and more resources. For example, Germany is okay if Poland sends Ukraine Leopard tanks, says the minister. Breaking news. This is the Polish newspaper showing Scholz hiding his tanks from Ukraine. Well, actually, Germany will also send those tanks finally, my friends. I have no doubts about it. They already say that potentially they can transfer 19 of those tanks. Those are Leopard 2A5. The modification is better compared to A4. New armor on a turret, new electronic systems and equipment, and better protection on the sides of the base. Yes, still Leopard 2A7 is much better, but A5 is also okay. Many of the Bradleys were spotted in Poland, that's the neighboring country with Ukraine, and they still carry this desert camouflage, and probably they will be repainted for the green one and delivered to Ukrainian army. United States promised lots of those vehicles. Even Morocco sent 20 of the T-72B tanks to Ukrainian army. Previously, Morocco received those tanks from the Belarusian side. Macron said that France may supply Leclerc tanks to Ukrainian army, but that supplement should be negotiated with allies, including Germany. Yes, this is probably the best tank out there. Boris Johnson visited Kyiv today. He went to Bucha, Kyiv suburbs, and to Kyiv itself. He met with President Zelensky, who I think is his friend. As for me, it's hard to say whether Boris has the influence on UK politics right now, but President Zelensky was happy to see an old friend in Kyiv. Bloomberg says that China is supplying all of the materials and equipment to make the ammunition and shells for European countries, and supply lines goes through Russia. You see that logistics is interconnected, and without the major war on a continent, simply you cannot block the supplies. On this picture you can see the places where Russia put the new air defense systems Panzer S to protect Putin in Kremlin. So Kremlin is here, and it's covered by all of the 3 Panzer S systems. Obviously, they have many more air defense systems in Moscow, but they do afraid of Ukrainian drones. Alright, National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine arrested the deputy of one of the ministers who was bribed with $400,000. Recently, there were lots of the corruption scandals in Ukraine, including army, unfortunately. So food supplies for the army were purchased for the much higher price, and actually it was partially admitted by our Ministry of Defense. But what I don't like, that Ministry of Defense assaulted the journalists who reviewed this wrongdoing. Defense Ministry said that they will alert SBU, it's the internal analog of the FBI, to investigate those journalists who did the investigation and showed up the corruption in Ministry of Defense. So I wonder why was that reaction from Defense Ministry. Yes, they say they will go on internal investigation of their system as well, but it shows that the system is corrupt and journalists use just open sources for investigation, and now ministry wants to make them guilty. It doesn't work like that in modern society. You know, we're so reliable on our Western help, and having the corruption during the hard times, my friends, it's absolutely unacceptable. And you may say, Dennis, why you speak about the bad sides of Ukraine? You should speak only about the good things to increase the support. Well, guys, it doesn't work like that. Corruption exists everywhere. The level is different, and also the reaction of the government is different. Here, I don't like the corruption and I don't like the reaction. And I'm sure that without corruption, our soldiers would get much better equipment and supplies. So it's very crucial and it's very important to speak about it during this time. And President Zelensky today announced the massive cleaning of the government next week. So they are aware of the corruption schemes probably, and they would fire many of the officials. At least I hope that it would be like that, because society is very angry about this topic. And here's one more case. Then the chief of the Lviv police presented the pass document for his girlfriend to go through the city center by car. Actually, it's forbidden, and you should have the special document to pass the square of Rynek, and there are lots of the people, that's why it's forbidden. But she's very happy, and she says, oh, I can go there with my Mercedes. It's so cringy, my friends. She wants to show that she's capable to travel their very restricted area on her Mercedes, showing the other people, I'm better than you. I have a boyfriend who is the police chief. So it's total nonsense. As you can see, corruption may happen on a different levels. So the chief of the Lviv police now dismissed. But without this video evidence published in internet, it wouldn't be possible. And how many of those cases that we do not see? My friends, I want to ask you to follow me on the Telegram channel, because there I upload the current information many times per day. My friends, don't forget to press the like to this video, and if you want to support me financially, there are always the links in the video description below. You may support me on Patreon, PayPal or Donatello, whichever is more convenient for you. Thank you so much for your help, and I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are. Have a great time.